Hey everyone, welcome back to the Superhero Show. Now, 2016 is massive for superhero movies.
Big.
We've got a lot of things to talk about. It's like feels like one every month. So we're going to debate something which I'm sure lots of people are going to talk a lot about this year, and they're going to analyse the box office taking of every one of these movies to point out and go, people are sick of superhero movies.
Yeah.
We're going to discuss whether there are too many coming out this year.
Yeah. One every month, one every 2 months.
Yeah. Because it's 6, because Gambit is probably moved where it
Yeah.
has to be.
Yeah, we got an email as well from Olaf Lesniak, who said, last year you guys did a prediction on top 3 box office movies of 2015. You guys were supposed to look back on it and check whose prediction was right. I was waiting an entire year for that episode. Could you also do that for 2016? Keep up the good work. So I asked Dan if he could find that episode, because I was busy this morning and he couldn't be bothered. So we don't know what we predicted, but I'm guessing we were both right.
That is untrue.
Did not ask?
That is untrue.
You were like, that's going to be hard to find.
Well, that's not saying I couldn't be honest.
We could have just looked in the January shows. It was probably January last year.
Probably.
So we don't know what we predicted, so I'm guessing we were both right.
Yeah.
But we will do it for this year, and send us yours, Olaf. So, go from 6 to 1.
From 6 to 1?
Yeah, all right, let's do them. So what's your number 6?
My number 6 is Deadpool.
My number 6 is Deadpool.
Because even though I am very much looking forward to this movie, it is an R-rated movie,
Yeah.
and none of the other movies on this list are, not even Suicide Squad. They said they're going for the PG-13. And by virtue of it being R-rated, I think that's just going to move it down below everything else. Kingsman last year was the 17th biggest movie globally because it was R-rated. Well, that was a factor anyway. And that did 414 million. I think Deadpool will probably do more because of the character, but I think it's not going to do much more than 600.
Agreed.
That's tops.
Succinct.
Tops.
Yep, so that is, and this is in terms of what we think they're going to gross globally. My number 5 is Doctor Strange.
Interesting. Or at least we're different.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to go Suicide Squad.
Okay.
Because just unknown, again, say it for both actually, unknown quantities, and at least Suicide Squad does have more a recognisable character in Harley and also the Joker. But I just think harder sell for people maybe.
Yep. Doctor Strange, I think, it's going to be quite out there. I think it's quite a tough sell. Yeah. I think the only way it'll do better than that is if it's really good and it's kind of counter-programming to all the other superhero movies in the same way that Guardians of the Galaxy was. So it's got the potential to be huge because it's different, but it's equally because of that, I'm putting it at number 5.
Agree, and that's kind of similar thinking why I've put that at my number 4.
Okay.
Doctor Strange is number 4 for all the reasons you said. I think it's lower down, but I think, again, great. It's really good cast. If the performances are great and it's just strikingly original, it'll do well.
Okay, my number 4 is XMen Apocalypse.
Ooh,
controversial.
Ooh.
I'm just wondering if the X-Men is ending. The kind of, people didn't seem to be as into Days of Future Past, I don't think, as First Class, even though I enjoyed the movie. I think this one lives or dies on its villain, as I've said before on here, and I think the villain will be great. So it could be higher up than this, but at the moment, I just feel like there's other movies that will be getting more attention this year and creating more excitement.
I thought that last trailer was a bit of a dud as well.
Yeah.
Apocalypse, did not like it at all. Number 3, I've gone X-Men.
Okay.
Because, I agree that it feels like people, because there's been so many X-Men movies, especially if you include the spin-off movies of the Wolverine movies. We've had an awful lot of X-Men, but Days of Future Past was a good movie. It did pretty well at the box office. It did 750 million worldwide. It was a top 10 movie for that year. So I'm just thinking, there's a lot of star power in that movie. There's, a lot of people will like some of those actors. I'm thinking it's going to be number 3 on my list.
My 3 is Suicide Squad.
Okay.
Even though I'm not as excited as our readers and viewers seem to be, there is a lot of excitement around it. I think the Batman factor is big as well. I think even if you're not a comic book fan, once you hear it's a Batman movie, I think there's a likelihood that a lot of people will be checking it out. Equally, my heart is telling me to put it further down the list because I'm not convinced it's going to be a great movie, which will affect the box office. But my head's telling me this is going to be big, so I've gone 3.
I'd be interested to see how much Batman they use in marketing materials, like the next trailer. Do we see some of that Batman sequence? I think
if they're at all concerned about it,
then
they will.
Batman.
Yeah.
A Batman story. All right, number 2. I kind of flipped a coin a little bit, but number 2, I'm going to do Batman Superman.
My number 2, Civil War.
Oh,
Ooh, exciting.
Okay. Should we just discuss the whole reason why we've put those at 1 and 2, really? Because I guess it's all linked. I've put Civil War at number 1, and that's kind of why Batman and Superman's gone to number 2. Batman and Superman undoubtedly has 2 of the most recognisable characters in all of pop culture. Mm-hmm. It will attract an audience far and wide, almost like Star Wars. It's like everyone's heard of Batman and Superman, and now they're fighting. Movie, if it's good, if it's great, I'm sure it'll be number 1. More people go see it over time. But if the movie isn't so good, maybe you get a lot less repeat custom. I've put Civil War at number 1. It's just because I feels like it's almost like Avengers. It's like everyone's got so much invested in all of those characters. You can't not see that movie because it's going to have ramifications for all the other movies you want to see. And I feel like it draws in just so many different people.
Yep.
And I think it'll be a really good movie.
Well, they're both billion-dollar movies, whatever happens.
Yeah, absolutely agree on that.
I agree. The same as my thoughts on Suicide Squad. I think Civil War will be a better movie, and that could mean that it ends up being number 1. Yeah. But like you say, I think it's such a big deal. Batman v Superman, just that title alone, you're going to get people going to the cinema who don't normally ever go to the cinema to see what that's all about. So that's why I put it number 1, even though I think if it's not a great movie, I think it will end up number 2. But putting my money where my mouth is.
Right, it's all out there.
Yeah, we should tweet that or something now, because I'm confused now. How are people going to remember that?
I don't know. We'll remember it so they don't have to. I'll make a note now.
Olaf, email us and tell us what we predicted.
Okay. All right, so let's get on to actually chatting about whether we think there are too many of these movies this year. And we should say by superhero, we're talking about DC, Marvel, cinematic adaptations. Because then, you can bring in a lot of other stuff. There's TV shows, which make it feel like more and more superhero stuff as well.
Yeah. What, are we worried that it's what the New York Times called a superhero infestation?
Yeah, I just think this is... something to say up front is obviously us doing the jobs that we do, and if you watch the show, you probably follow a lot of Twitter accounts and check a lot of websites where you find this stuff. So it feels like that's everything. Mm-hmm. But if you step back and see the wider release schedule for Hollywood, there's lots of other stuff coming out, and that kind of dilutes, you see, if you look at a one sheet of all the superhero movies, you go, bloody hell, that's a lot of superhero movies. But if you put it in the context of a wider release schedule, I counted a list, there's like 9 animated movies with talking animals in this year. And, we kind of grouped them together because a lot of these came out under the DC and Marvel banner.
Yeah.
But they're quite diverse films.
Yeah.
They're all action films to an extent if you want to put them in the loosest genre.
Yeah.
But they're very dissimilar films in other ways.
Well, it's weird how similar Civil War and Batman v Superman are, the 2 big ones. That is weird.
Yeah.
And I really hope that one of them has a conclusion that's not like the other one, that it's not a big CGI fest. But yeah, you're right. Obviously, we've got a comedy, we've got a villains movie, and we've got this weird fantasy, horror, whatever that is, in another dimension.
Mystical.
You're right. So it's 6 films out of 12 months.
Yeah.
They're quite spaced out as well. We've got February, March, April, May, August and October. They're pretty much, you're not even going to get 2 in the space of 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So I did a bit of research on this grouping like you did with the animals, but I went further. Because we've talked often about Westerns.
Yeah.
And the American myth, it was the Western, now maybe it's the superhero movie. So in 1956, there were 59 Westerns, probably when it was the height of its powers, the Western. In 1966, there were 52. 76, there were 19. 86, there were 15. 96, there were 15. 06, there were 14. And this year, there's probably about 9 Westerns coming. So it has dropped, but it's not disappeared. And there was 20, 30, 40 years of Westerns. I think we're just at the start of this cycle. Yeah. I think 2016 could be just the tip of the iceberg, really. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. But also it's really weird because some of the only things that these have in common, they're adaptations from source material published by the same company.
Yep.
It's
this weird umbrella, saying it's a genre.
Yeah, but it's not really. But then you reduce it down to hero versus villain. Well, I'm sorry, antagonist versus protagonist is not exclusive to this genre or whatever you want to call it.
Well, look at every blockbuster that was released last year. It's the same. It's that same formula.
I think it's an easy thing to have a go at. And also when people, I kind of responded to some people that I follow on Twitter who were kind of slagging off some superhero movie saying, oh, this is all we'll get. And I was like, well, no, like the biggest grossing movies of last year were Star Wars now, but at the time it was Jurassic World, Fast and Furious, and then Avengers, but then also Minions, Cinderella.
Yep.
Hollywood's not going to just fund more and more super movies when they look at the budget line and go, well, that did really well.
Yep.
This animated movie, we'll do more of them, we'll do more live action Disney adaptations. They're not just going to fund it for the sake of it.
And we group them together like this, but then why don't we put The Matrix in that group, or Lucy, which are effectively exactly the same
absolutely.
Formula. And, you know, this year the film I'm most excited about might be Midnight Special, which again, I believe it's, you know, they've kept it under wraps. Jeff Nichol, it's got Adam Driver in it, Michael Shannon, Joel Edgerton, and that's about a kid with special powers. But because it's not adapted from a comic, it doesn't get lumped with the others.
Yeah.
So I think there's more to it. I think it's quite a simplistic way of looking at it.
I think we're using terminology like messily overlaps, where you call this a genre, but it's not quite, and then that argument falls down slightly, and you can't draw easy comparisons.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're getting a lot of really talented people working on really cool movies, and the studios are willing to fund them because it's based on source material, so they think they can take a risk on it. Well, they don't think it's a risk, they think it's bankable because it's Superman, Batman. That's only a good thing.
Yeah. Why is Star Wars a sci-fi movie and Guardians of the Galaxy a superhero movie?
Yeah.
Just because one's based on a comic. But there's exactly the same things going on in there with people with powers and
it's not like Star Wars any more original, which is based on like joining together loads of different things and combining them, whether it's Japanese movies, whether it's old mythological text. Everything is based on something and thrown together.
Yeah. I think, you know, I'm a bit older than Dan, and my childhood, there was nothing. There was one superhero every 2 years, if you were lucky. And then even then it was pretty terrible. It was Condor Man or Superman 3 or Supergirl. Like the quality was really low. So I think what's changed is that they're not going away now. We're going to there'll be groups of them every year from here on in, because there's too much money to be made off the back of them. But I think we should just be happy that the quality has improved so much.
Yeah. And also, if you don't like them, don't watch them.
Yeah.
Let people enjoy. I just think that like there's plenty of stuff out there. Why people get angry when they don't like stuff?
So there's not too many in 2016.
There's not.
That is my conclusion.
Well,
I just hope the quality is good.
Yeah.
Is high.
Good. Right, feedback time. Do you want
me to go first?
Yeah.
This is from Michael Doherty, who says, just watched Captain America: First Avenger for the first time since it came out, all those many years ago, and I've just realised that the Red Skull didn't actually die. He's alive and out in space. Could he be with Thanos? Could we potentially see the Cosmic Skull in Infinity Wars?
Chilling.
What do you guys think?
Just watching Netflix and chilling with Thanos.
He built Thanos' big chair.
That's what he's been doing. He's a space carpenter. It's like a really big villain in the Marvel Universe that's still in play.
And I was talking about
I'm surprised. When I was watching Winter Soldier for ages, I thought Robert Redford was going to pull his head off.
Yeah, you told me that that's what was going to happen, and so I spent the whole film waiting for it. And
I really thought that was what the reveal was going to be, but he's still in play, and I think they'll bring him back at some point.
Yeah.
You're not a fan?
Well, I never really liked that film that much, and I thought he was okay as a villain, but I didn't think they really nailed it. So, not my favourite.
Yeah, but definitely a cool-looking villain.
Yeah.
With Deadpool's film just around again, John March from Nottingham, another person from Nottingham. People love it there.
It's a good place.
With Deadpool's film just around the corner, I was hoping it does well enough that we could see Cable get his film debut in a Deadpool sequel. Who do you think should play him if he gets some screen time in the future? The reason I put this in, who could play Cable,
I think went around Twitter, didn't it?
Yeah, so the guy who created Deadpool posted a mock-up of Jon Hamm as Cable. If you've not seen it, that's what it looks like. And that's the guy endorsing him, which is quite cool. He looks good.
Let's get Jon Hamm in a superhero movie sooner rather than later. We've talked about the Netflix shows a lot on this show, and I think one week we must have asked who should be the villain when the Defenders finally comes around. And we got loads of feedback, so I'm going to dash through this. Jeremy Padilla says, I personally think the villain for the Defenders show will be the Hand. Richard Burrows says, I have an idea who could be the villain, the Hood. In the comic, he has a connection to Kingpin, and the often mystical nature of his powers could be a reason for Iron Fist to become involved. Fist Dan Stevens. Max Harrison.
What's that?
No, that's what you're supposed to do.
Is that what you do?
Yeah.
So you don't get stuck?
If you see people in the streets, go like that and they'll know that you're behind the Fist Dan Stevens campaign. Max Harrison says, I think a great character on a Defenders TV show would be Damon Hellstrom, either as an ambiguous character or a straight villain. The character could be introduced in the Iron Fist TV series as it will be dealing with the magic side of the MCU. Michael Barrett says, how about Parker Robbins for a villain in the Defenders? He is street level enough in his background and goals to get someone like Daredevil involved while having a power set and allies that will push Jessica and Iron Fist to their limits. As it is likely that they won't even begin on Defenders until after Doctor Strange has brought the supernatural to the MCU, it would be a great opportunity to get some horror into the Netflix shows. I think a good, this is W.T. Hallman says, I think a good villains for the Netflix Defenders show would definitely be Kingpin assembling some sort of team that we meet at a time throughout the show. That way we meet each villain individually, then the final few episodes could focus on a team v team. That's a really good idea. Also like the main villain Diamondback to be a major part of the Luke Cage series coming soon. I won't read this whole one because this is long. The Wrecking Crew, Ryan Donaldson suggests. Good idea. I won't read it. It's quite a lot here and I've been talking for too long. And finally, see, why have I done that? That's just, I've highlighted all that. I highlighted these 2 weeks ago, so I can't remember. Blah, blah, blah. This is from, thank you, Ryan Denham, for writing such a long email. Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy as the big bad. That's his suggestion. Yeah, I don't know. It's a really good email, but I've not read through it properly.
He has highlighted it all.
Instead of having them join the movie, I propose that Marvel make a separate mini-series for the Defenders set during the conflict. This I remember now. And so it's the street-level battle that the Defenders are doing while the Infinity Wars is happening in the movies that could screen at the same time.
Got you.
Really great idea.
There's a site, I think, maybe it was Comic Book Resources. There's a site that got some time with the Russo brothers recently, and they got loads of news out of them about Civil War and also talking about Infinity War.
Yeah.
And the Russo brothers basically implied that, you know what we're talking about, like getting all the heroes so far on screen.
Yeah.
They kind of implied that it's going to happen. That they was like, yeah, we'll get everyone. They're going to do it.
That would be so good. But yeah, good email. But what I liked about this though is the fact that everyone had a different suggestion. So it just shows how much potential there is.
Yeah.
You know, these untapped characters in the MCU.
Yeah.
But thank you everyone for all those emails.
I've got a huge toy box to play with. Final email, Josh from Nottingham. What is going on in Nottingham?
Do you think they show us on a big screen in Nottingham City Centre or something?
Anyway, brilliant email from Josh. My question for you is, if you could reach through time and space and choose any actor for a modern superhero film, who would it be? I would love to have seen Paul Newman as Steve Rogers, which is a great shout, facing off against Clark Gable's Tony Stark.
Yeah, well, I did this feature last summer where I imagined if the Avengers came out in '85 rather than, you know, recently. And so I did that. It was really fun trying to come up with casting for those characters. Oh man, who was my Captain America? I know who my Tony Stark was.
Definitely know who Tony Stark was.
My Tony Stark was Burt Reynolds.
Was this Swayze?
It might have been Swayze. It might have been Swayze. Yeah, it might have been Swayze for Captain America.
I liked your Bruce Banner. Did you go with that name? Was it Mel Gibson?
Yeah, Mel Gibson.
Anger issues.
But 1985 Mel Gibson.
Yeah, when it was okay, when he was all right.
Well, he's Mad Max.
He's quiet about it.
Yeah, I think it's fun though, speculate about those things. I might even do that feature again for another decade, or I'm thinking about in the summer maybe doing it once Batman v Superman comes out and recasting.
That's a really good idea.
Because I like the 80s one, but Paul Newman and Clark Gable would have been really good.
You got any more suggestions? I've got a couple.
I didn't think of any.
I'm going to lay these down on you. You can see why I'd pick this one. Robert De Niro, Punisher.
Excellent.
There's obviously a film that I'm referring to, Raging Bull. So Taxi Driver, Travis Bickle is a variant, and they've actually said the new Punisher, you know, is tapping into that somewhat. Gregory Peck, Bruce Wayne, Batman.
Yep.
James Dean, Johnny Storm.
Okay, yeah, good.
Clint Eastwood, Nick Fury.
Very good. Clint Eastwood was my Nick Fury in my feature,
Oh, was it?
so you've clearly nicked
But
it.
you could play in any era. All right, I've got another one. Even if it was just a bit sooner, Denzel Washington, Black Panther.
Yeah, very good.
obvious.
I didn't come up with any others. Should I have done that?
Not my favourite actor. My favourite actor is Mr. Sidney Poitier as Black Panther.
Maybe we should do a whole show on our fantasy casting.
Yeah, definitely.
If people write in their fantasy casting, and then we'll nick the best ones and pretend they're ours.
Awesome. Yeah, send them in superhero@ign.com and do let us know where you come from, because I always find that really interesting. So until next week, for everything on superhero, stay right with us on IGN.
Cheerio, Nottingham.